Hello again, you sick, twisted weather freaks, and welcome to another fun-filled, action-packed, and special edition of This Week in Weather. I'm your host and meteorologist, DT from Weather Risk. You're a commander of chaos, you're a colonel of confusion, you're a captain of catastrophe. Let's talk about This Week in Weather, and there's a lot to talk about here. So let's get right to it. First, Happy New Year again to everybody, all the fans out there. So we're going to be talking about January 5 and 6. Let me get rid of that. And then we're going to be talking about why a drift to the north is still possible. I think the key is going to be Thursday. That's going to be the big day. We're going to start by 72, 84 hours before the start of the event. We'll see whether or not there's going to be a northward drift. Some of the data is showing that, a slight northward drift, so we'll see if that happens. The ice threat for Southern Virginia looks pretty good, I got to tell you. So, we'll have to see how that looks. It looks pretty good. I'm getting worried about that across the southern third of Virginia. Now, the other thing is this January 3rd event coming in on Friday. That's kind of important here. And I think it's the key. I think people are missing that. And then January 10th, we're going to talk about this and why the threat is real. Do not give up on January 10th. I'm telling you, folks, there's got real possibilities here. So let's just, and I was right about January 5, 6. You go back and take a look at the social media posts, the Twitter page, the Blue Sky page, these weather videos, the Facebook page. I was talking about the threat for January 5, 6 way back before Christmas. So I'm telling you, January 10th has got a real possibility. I'm not certain about it yet, but don't give up on it simply because the models have it out to sea. That's bullshit. Don't do that. That's not the way you do science, okay? The models are guidance, they're not fact. So there's the website in case you haven't seen it yet. And you can go over here to the shop page. You can get the 3-week newsletter there. You can get the Mid-Atlantic forecast, the weather notification statements, and, of course, the snow removal. All right, there's the Weather Risk Grains Twitter page, which I use mostly for my grain commodities. There's a serious drought developing in Argentina. That's going to be a big, big deal here coming up. A drought in Argentina and a lot of rain in Brazil. So that's another issue. And then, of course, here's the Blue Sky page as well, which is now have about 3,000 followers. Thank you very much. All right, now here is the ENSO regions. And what I wanted to point out here on these ENSO regions is the fact that, go back to here. Let me get an arrow for this here. You can use it. So here is the ENSO regions. Now this is the CDAS. You can see it reaches minimum around minus 1.5. Now this very rapid drop in December was forecasted by the CFS model. And you can see it here. That's December 1st. Look at the drop from almost zero, minus 0.110, 1/10 of a degree below normal on December 1st, then reaching 1.2 here right before Christmas, and then now it's rapidly rising, you can see. So this sharp drop was correctly forecasted by the CFS climate model. Good job, CFS climate model, okay? Kicked the Europeans' ass, quite frankly, it really did. Okay, here is the latest on the sea surface temperature map. This is December 25, nothing has changed. Again, you can see La Nina is central-based, Central Pacific La Nina, not off the coast of South America. That's where the coldest water is. And the reason why, there's eastern-based El Nino and La Nina events centered off the coast of South America. And then there's central-based. This is central-based La Nina, Molokai, that's a Molokai La Nina here. That's what we have right now. And the reason why we do that is because Molokai La Nina events are much more favorable for winter weather patterns, especially January, February, and March. Unfortunately, a lot of forecasters out there don't talk about that much. They use the same stupid template for La Nina, no matter what it is, whether it's strong or moderate or weak, and whether it's based off of Peru or in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I don't know why they do that, but they do. All right, here is the MJO. This is the new data. Let me change the data here. That's not correct. Okay, you can see here, this is December 31. The GFS, the European, both of these models, this was a surprise. They drop it away from phase 8. Back in the neutral circle right there. But then when we get to January 6th, 5 and 6, boom, it pops it out to phase 1 and 2. Both models have that. And then reaching phase 3 by the last of January. And now why this is important? Well, phase 8, we were hoping for getting phase 8, but that's not happening. We are going to get phase 1 and phase 2. As you can see, phase 1 is pretty stormy here on the East Coast, well, especially the Southeast, and it's still pretty cold. So we're okay with that. And then, of course, we're going to phase 1 and phase 2, And then even phase 3 is not too bad for the winter. Now, once we get out of phase 3, which will be in February, I think, we may go into a warm cycle in February and then go back into another cold cycle late February and March, but we'll see how it plays out. There's no guarantee that's going to happen that way. All right, let's talk about teleconnections here. The Atlantic and the Pacific side. This is the Pacific side here. We have two of them here. The EPO, the Eastern Pacific Oscillation. That's your Alaskan Ridge or your Alaskan Trough. All right, and you want it, if you like cold and snow in the eastern United States, you want that to be negative. There's your P&A, your West Coast Ridge. You want to be positive mostly on the West Coast of North America. On the Atlantic side, we have two teleconnections, the Arctic Oscillation, which ideally, if you want cold and snowy patterns, you want that to be negative. And the same thing with the NAO, the North American Oscillation, also known as the Greenland Block. Okay, so if we look at that, this is the Atlantic side here. Well, let's do the Pacific side first. We talked about the Pacific side first. So there's the Pacific side. Let's talk about that first. And you can see the EPO has been trending negative. Right now it is negative, and then it kind of bounces back and forth here, neutral, right through the middle of January towards January 20th. Here's the P&A pattern. Right now, as you can see, we're, again, very close to neutral. And now as we go into January, we get a ridge here, kind of moderate ridge, which takes us to January 20th. Now, on the Atlantic side, the Arctic Oscillation is very strongly negative. It's dropping negative here. It's forecasted around minus 4 degrees, 4 standard deviations, I think that is. By the time we get to, I guess it's January 6th or 7th, right there when we get to the big storm on the East Coast. Now, after that, it begins to weaken, but it still stays negative all the way through January 18th, 19th, and 20th. And then the NAO is the same thing. We've gone negative now, and you can see that it reaches minus 2, and it stays that way for most of the models right through January 20th. Okay. Well, what this means is that the Atlantic side is pretty favorable, while the Pacific side is kind of, not that great. It's not horrible, it's just not great. It'd be better to keep this EPO strongly negative and not doing that. On the polar vortex, well, we have some interesting news. If you see on the vortex, you can see right now, this is January 1st. You can see where there it is, shaped very nicely in a very large and very strong across the, I'll bring forward, you can see it, right there over the North Pole. It's not doing much of anything, it's just very large, it's very big. Now, there is some indication that it might shift, as you can see here. We get this big bubble of warm air in Siberia, and that displaces the vortex, but it's still in the Arctic region. So it's not really doing much favorable right now. But there are indications, the GFS in particular, by the time we get to January 15th, 16th, it does split it into two distinct pieces. This would be a shattering of the unified polar vortex into two distinct pieces here. And that in turn would force the vortex further south again. So we may be getting another cold air outbreak in mid-January. But so this is interesting to see this split like that. Now, the GFS has tried to do that a couple times this winter. I'm not sure if it's true, but that's what it's showing right now. So I thought we'd talk about it. All right. Let's talk about the February 3rd event. There it is, a light, moderate snow event. It's actually a reinforcing cold front. This is as of Friday 10 a.m. in Ohio and Kentucky, West Virginia. And then you can see, as I posted, on the Facebook page, it comes in nicely, relatively minor event. Moderate snow in West Virginia, Western Maryland, and then you get the snow showers in northern D.C., the Shenandoah Valley, northern Piedmont, central Maryland. It's rain and snow showers in probably Charlottesville and Richmond and Fredericksburg, but north of that, it's probably all snow. And you can see the temperatures at the time. They're cold enough to support snow showers. I mean, it's not really that cold yet. This is Friday afternoon at 4 p.m., and the temperatures begin to tumble Friday at 7 p.m. So I just want to point that out to you. Now, the reason why that's important is because that feature helps re-energize the blocking pattern up in southeast Canada. So that's kind of important. We'll see how that actually plays out. Now, here's the latest data. Let's go to the big event here, January 5, 6, and see what happens. So here's the upper air map, valid Saturday evening at 7 p.m. There's the southern shortwave and the southern jet stream right there in Colorado. There's your huge 50-50 low. There's your very strong negative North American Oscillation, your Greenland block. There is at the surface Okay, Oklahoma, significant snow in Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, northern Minnesota. There's the cold Arctic high dropping the cold air southward. Now, this was the January 4th disturbance. You can see bring in reinforcing cold air. January 3rd disturbance, I meant to say. Okay. So now we go to Sunday evening, January 5. There's a shortwave in Missouri. Now, remember, several days ago, the models had this shortwave up in Illinois and Michigan. It's not. It's in Missouri. And you can see what's happening. So the surface map, let's blow this out. This is the 12Z European model run for this Wednesday. There it is in southwest, maybe Paducah, Kentucky. Is that where it is? A significant moderate snow, Missouri, southern Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Heavy ice, southwest, far southern Illinois, southwest Indiana, Kentucky, and then you have ice in southwest Virginia, snow into Richmond and Charlottesville, Harrisonburg by 7 p.m. on Sunday. 7 p.m. on Sunday, all right? And there's your Arctic high north of Montana, north of North Dakota. Now, that's really kind of far away. You really want this high to be more over here by Minnesota to the east. So that's a little far away, so that's not great. Okay, now, the short wave comes east. Okay, that was in Missouri. Now notice what's happening here. It's getting crushed a little bit. Now, why is it getting crushed? Well, because there's your vortex right here. That's why this is having trouble coming northward. So the only real issue is whether or not this is going to go due west to east. Okay, it's not turning up the coast. It's not going to be snow in Albany or Boston, anything like that. The snow could get to New York City. Yes, that's true. Philadelphia, New Jersey, Long Island, maybe coastal New England, Connecticut, southeast Mass, but I don't see getting further north than that. This vortex, this 50-50 low, the ocean low, is just huge. Now, that also should keep the cold air in place. So, we have to figure out where the snow ice line is going to be here, because if it's not coming north, then the cold air stays in place. So if the models are bringing milder air in, that would imply that the system could come further north. So we have to figure this out yet. This is still an uncertain aspect to the storm. So let me show you what I mean here. Okay, so this is the European model now for, this is the Wednesday European model, valid Sunday evening, 7 p.m. So you can see the snow reaching almost into Tappahannock and Richmond, and moderate snow in Charlottesville and Harrisonburg, and then West Virginia. You can see there's the ice storm in southwest Virginia, southern West Virginia, northern Kentucky, southwest Indiana. All right? And here, this is now 1 a.m. Monday morning. Now the model, this 12Z now has the snow going to ice in Richmond a little earlier, and you have moderate to heavy snow in D.C. and Baltimore and Salisbury and Dover and Cambridge and Easton. Okay, the northern Shenandoah Valley. You've got ice in the central Shenandoah Valley in Charlottesville, and then you've got a lot of snow in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Now, then what happens is, this is different. Now the European model, notice here there's a little dry slot developing right here in Tennessee, you see that? Now the model wants to develop a dry slot. This is Monday, 10 a.m. Dry slot punches through to Richmond up towards Tappahannock. So you can see the snow reaching New York City and Long Island, see that? And the D.C. is still in snow, but Charlottesville, Richmond, Roanoke, Lynchburg, Petersburg, all the way down to western North Carolina, there's a dry slot that punches up through there. So that's a new trend. I don't know if that's right. It might be. That's a new trend that was not there earlier. Okay. If we look at the trend here, now this is from the 6Z. This is early Wednesday morning. Look at the huge snow here on January 5 at 4 a.m. Moderate snow in Richmond, heavy snow, Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, moderate to heavy snow in D.C., up towards Baltimore, Cambridge and Easton, and Salisbury and Georgetown, and maybe close to Dover. And then you can see the heavy ice storm in southwest Virginia, really significant ice there. And that continues. This is Monday. This was the 6Z European. Now this is the 12Z run. Okay, so it's a little different. Notice it's got a little more ice. This is also 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. Notice a little more ice in Richmond. See that? Okay, but then you have your moderate snow still continuing. It's just a little warmer in Richmond and Charlottesville. Now, once you go south of Petersburg, it looks like it's mostly rain. Hampton Roads is rain, Raleigh, Danville, Martinsville, Kerr Lake, South Boston Hill, and Emporia, it's all rain there. All right, here we have, again, this is the early 6Z European and the 12Z run. 6Z, and then this is the 6Z run also. But I want to show you, this is valid for 4 a.m. on Monday, and then you can see what happens as of 7 a.m. Monday. So the heavy snow is now east of Richmond in the Tappahannock, southern Maryland, northern neck. That's nice. D.C. is getting it. Charlottesville's right on the edge, and then Richmond on this is getting pounded with the heavy ice, all the way back into Farmville and Roanoke. A big ice storm through here. Now, here's the 12Z happens. You can see by 7 a.m. Monday, the heaviest snow is pushed into D.C., northern into the Delmarva and Baltimore and Patuxent River and D.C. metro area. Now you're getting this freezing rain, this light stuff here. It's now gone to rain east of Richmond, and then you get your dry slot. You remember we talked about this dry slot here? There it is when you see it enlarged. There's the dry slot. This is Monday at 10 a.m. This is new. This wasn't early in the earlier data. I don't know if this is right or not. Okay, then, supposedly, okay, the early Wednesday morning European brought it back to all snow, and so does the Wednesday midday run. 4 o'clock on Monday, it's back to snow in D.C. and Richmond again a little bit, and probably not that much. Now, if we look at 850 temperatures, here we go. This is from today, the 12Z run. The zero line, that's the rain snow line. You see what's south of Richmond? Okay, and then towards Roanoke. And then up toward that's why Southwest Virginia is getting ice here and rain, because it's too warm for snow to fall. Okay, by 10 a.m. on Monday, the rain snow lines move north of Richmond. See that? Move north of it. But it's still snowing in Charlottesville. So you can see why it goes over. It's freezing rain and sleet in Richmond at that point. And you can see the same sort of thing here. This is also service map. Now, this is 1 o'clock on Monday. It gets 1 p.m. Monday afternoon. It's gotten cold again. It's got back to all snow. The cold air is rushing back towards the coast. Richmond's gone back over to snow at mid-levels of the atmosphere. And then you can see the cold levels near the surface at 925 millibars as well. In terms of the snowfall map, all right, this was early this Wednesday morning. So Richmond, 2.5, 3 inches south. 7 or 8 north side. You can see that. Same thing here. Look out the boundary here between Roanoke around 1 or 2 inches. Then north of it, Lexington's getting 6 or 8. And you can see it's the same sort of thing. D.C., 4 to 8 inches here. 3 to 6 in Baltimore, Hagerstown. But look at Salisbury gets crushed. Tappahannock, Fredericksburg, Stafford, Orange, Culpeper, Charlottesville, Harrisonburg, Staunton. And then look in the east of the Greenbrier Valley, western Maryland. It's just straight across. Notice you're not getting any northward movement here. Now, that was the early Wednesday morning European. Here's the afternoon update, 12Z run. Notice it shifted north. D.C. is getting a little more snow. Richmond's snow is going down here. Okay, more ice. All right. Charlottesville's getting pounded, so Staunton, still Harrisonburg, Fredericksburg, Culpeper, Warrington, Gainesville, Dulles, Winchester, Patuxent River, Annapolis, St. Mary's, Cambridge, Easton, Delmarva, up to Dover getting 6 to 7 inches now. Salisbury, Maryland, 13 on this, if you can believe that. Okay? Now, a lot of this south of the heavy snow is sleet and freezing rain after the initial burst of snow. And here it is again. This is the GFS. This is the 18Z GFS. Notice now we're getting within 84 hours of the event. So now the GFS suddenly becomes a much better model. Now it looks like the European. Look how fast the snow's coming in. This is Sunday afternoon, 5 p.m. Snow's on the edge of Richmond. It's snowing in Roanoke and Charlottesville. All right? And look where the low is. It's down in Mississippi. And then it goes to Tennessee. Now you have snow from Richmond northward. Okay, snow into D.C., snowing in the Middle Peninsula, the northern neck getting hit pretty good. See that? Maybe even Williamsburg for a couple hours on Sunday night at 10 p.m. And you can see the snow back into Ohio and West Virginia, okay, and then most of the Shenandoah Valley. The 18Z, there it is. 18Z GFS, it's got a lot of ice here in the southern half of Virginia. Look at this. That is a lot of ice, boys and girls. All right? And then D.C. is getting pounded. This is a nice snowstorm. The D.C. snow, this is right, D.C. snowfall drought is over, boys and girls. Southern Ohio, Cincinnati, Dayton, woo, getting clocked. Okay, West Virginia getting nice snow. Western Maryland, Hagerstown, Winchester, it's, And then again, Salisbury looks really good in this. Now, south of the North Carolina-Virginia boundary, it's all rain. Hampton Roads is mostly rain. I'm sorry, this is just not this storm for them. This is an enlargement of the GFS, the same thing. This is Sunday, 7 p.m. See where the edge of the snow is? Okay. If you can look at that, it looks like it has snow in Hampton Roads for a few hours. I don't know if that's true, but it's possible. It's possible. Okay. So maybe. Okay. And then Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck, moderate snow in Richmond, all back to Charlottesville. The heavy snow here. Look at the ice coming in. Freezing rain and sleet down in the Southern Virginia, Piedmont, Roanoke, Lynchburg, Lexington. Now, this is 1 a.m. Monday, January 6th. Look at that ice. Now, Richmond's the borderline. You can see that. Boom. South of it, north of it, it's still snow. You're getting clocked. Okay? Now, the moderate snow, the darker blue, it's getting close to D.C. It's not quite in D.C. Not quite in D.C., but it's close. Okay, now this is 12Z, 7 a.m. Monday. Now you got moderate snow in D.C. up towards Baltimore. All right, now you're getting clocked. Northern Tappahannock, St. Mary's, most of the Delmarva, all of Northern Virginia. It's getting just slammed. Now, freezing rain in Richmond, buckets of freezing rain in Richmond, as you can see, over towards Roanoke, Lynchburg, sleet towards Charlottesville, up towards Ashland. Maybe Stafford is getting over the sleet at this point. Tappahannock, snow and sleet, right? But the northern neck is still all snow. Temperatures, how does this look? Well, Monday morning, let me get this map out of the way, you can see it. So this is Monday morning at 4 a.m. So you can see, there we go. Richmond is still 32 degrees, as you can see that here. And look at the cold temperatures up in Northern Virginia, you can see that. Roanoke, so on and so forth, all right? And then if we shrink this map and look at the other one, this is now, this is 10 a.m. on Monday, and Richmond, according to the European, has gone over to 33, 34 degrees, which would be a snow-rain mix. That's correct, okay? So this is a shift. Again, this is further north. So now the GFS with its ice, look at this freezing rain and ice. Wow, that's a pretty significant amount of ice. And there's the sleet too. Woo! So we'll see. Like I said, once you get within 72 hours, the GFS to start figuring things out, and it becomes a very good model to use. Now, and again, you can see the difference. You remember the GFS here? Okay, look where the low is in Mississippi and Tennessee. Do you remember back only 4 days ago it had the low in Wisconsin and Michigan? Okay? So when I tell you the GFS becomes a better model at 72 hours or 84 hours, I'm not making that up. It really does become better. I know it seems like I'm making it up. No, I'm not. Actually, I'm not at all. Okay. So that's where we go. And you can see the 850 temperatures here. Here's the European. And you can see the 12Z run, the 850 temperatures are quite cold. As you can see, then it goes north here on the 12Z run, as well north of Richmond. And that's why it changes over. That's why you get the sleet, freezing rain. Anything, if you're south of the yellow line, you can't be snow. You cannot be. You can be sleet, you can be freezing rain, but you can't be snow. You have to be north of the yellow line, or your 850 temperatures are below zero. 850 millibar temperatures are 1 mile above the ground. That's where you get. That's the rain snow line. So now, once the snow falls out of the cloud, you can have a bubble of warm air between the cloud and the ground where it could be 34, 35 degrees and the snow melts and you get freezing rain or sleet or mixture of snow and rain. But at least the minimum criteria is you have to be 0 degrees or colder at 850 millibars for snow in the winter months. Now, and that in this case, all again north of the yellow line. And this is the European now 1 o'clock on Monday. You can see the cold air is coming back into Richmond. So it's gone back over to snow. This is the GFS. Now the GFS also has a nice, similar to snow map as the European. Not bad. Notice the 6-inch band right in here north in northern central Virginia, north of Richmond. the Tappahannock, Middle Peninsula, 5 inches in Charlottesville, Richmond, DC's got 3, 4, 5 inches here. Now this is a little lower than what the European has here, as you can see. So you could go, if you wanted to, this is your low number, and this is your high number. You could do that. That's not a bad idea for a starting forecast. Okay? All right. Finally, I know I'm 20 minutes, 25 minutes already. I'll make this quick. January 10th. Why? It is still very possible. This is the European model from the Wednesday, midday run, 12Z. This is valid January 10th, 11th. You can see the lows off the North Carolina coast. The atmosphere is plenty cold enough for snow in the interior southeast, even for Hampton Roads, if this low gets any closer. So Hampton Roads, folks, and those in eastern North Carolina, which are suffering, maybe even Richmond, if that low gets closer, the atmosphere will be cold enough for snow. So let's look what's going on here. Okay. So this is early Wednesday morning run. This is the 0Z run. So we have the upper low in Baja. There's your 50-50 low here. There's your gigantic block in Greenland. That's the negative NAO. That's the ocean storm, the 50-50 low. You see this piece of energy right here? Let me blow it up so you can see it a little more. That's the key right here. That you got to bring that piece of energy that's going to drop down into here. Now, initially, when they were talking about a blizzard on the East Coast on January 10th, this energy and this energy was going to meet. But now the European's not doing that. The thing is, one of the flaws of the European model is to not handle energy in the southwestern states very well. So maybe the European's goofy here. But then, okay, that's early Wednesday morning. Now what happens is this is now valid on the evening of January 10th going into the 11th. Notice what happens here. This energy continues to amplify. You have a very strong shortwave near Memphis. See the area I circled? This should generate low pressure here to the east. And there's your blocking pattern. You can see the north winds, the wind bringing right out of Canada. So you're flooding the eastern U.S. with lots of cold air. That could generate low pressure somewhere. It might be Tennessee. It might be off the North Carolina coast, too far east. I don't know yet. But this is a possibility here. There's your 50-50 low. Okay. This is the 12Z run. Now Wednesday afternoon. Now it's doing something a little different. Okay. Now you have two pieces of energy here. See this? This is Thursday. This is January 9th. One piece of energy here, another piece there. Now they're going to get together and form a really nice trough piece of energy in the eastern United States. If these two pieces get together, you have a better chance of something on the East Coast. Now we look at it here. Oops. Okay. Look now, this is January 10th. They're the two pieces of energy. See, they're not quite together yet, but you can see they're going to get together. And there's your 50-50 low. These two features have to go underneath. They can't go to Michigan. They can't go to Boston. They can't go to New York State. They have to go underneath here, this way. See it? Underneath the block. Underneath the 50-50 low. That is why that's important. It forces the energy south, and therefore it stays cold. It doesn't warm up. You don't get rain. That's what has to happen. So when we go to the final presentation here, this is now the one in the upper left. This is Saturday. This is from the midday, Wednesday, European. Now you have a negatively tilted short. When those two pieces have gotten together, it develops a negative tilt. This should be generating low pressure near the southeast U.S. coast and bring the snowstorm. Right now, the model doesn't do that. I don't know why. It should, if this is correct. You can see the red line is the negatively tilted trough running northwest to southeast. So, again, it's not over yet. It's not done. And when we get to late on the 11th into the 12th, you can see, again, look at the negative tilt right here. There should be some sort of low pressure off the mid-Atlantic coast. I don't know why the model's not doing it, but my point here is that this is very, very close. This is a long way away. Do not give up on January 10th. Okay. Finally, this is done. I'm sorry it took so long, but there's a lot of weather to talk about. Weather was boring. Now suddenly we have lots of interesting weather. Okay. From here, I guess it's time. The snow removal clients will start getting information about this tomorrow. and other clients, the other vineyards, the ski resorts, what have you, they'll be getting information about it as well. So there we go. Let's just wait and see whether or not the north trend on January 5 or 6 is real. I don't know if it is. It could be. Again, the low isn't moving north. It's just that the north expansion of the northern snow shield looks like it's going to make it to New York City and northeast Pennsylvania, maybe even southern Connecticut and Long Island. But I'm not certain about that, but we'll see. Okay, this is meteorologist DT from Weather Risk. I will see you over on the Weather Risk Facebook page, the website, and then over on the Blue Sky social media page and the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.